What's up, Pineal family? It's another day, which means it is another video. Guys, I'm so happy that you are here. Just a part of this growing community, like-minded people connecting, trying to grow their own food, trying to get healthier, learn how to cook. The cooking videos are coming pretty soon. I'm gonna be recording some in the next couple of days. And this month, I'm really gonna try to do a bunch of videos, if not every day, at least every other day, guys. I'm gonna bring you the content, and I just love hanging out with you guys. I love building this community, learning what you guys are growing, learning how you guys are cooking food to become healthier, using nature to become healthier. That's what the Pineal community is all about. So thank you guys for being here. Thank you for building the community. And yeah, grab a cup of coffee if you're watching this in the morning time. Sip on it, and let's talk containers. So I want to talk to you guys today about if you're excited about growing food, right? And you want to start growing your tomatoes, your peppers, your lettuces, all that cool stuff. And a lot of those things you can grow in containers. And if you don't have space, this is fantastic. If you live in an apartment or a townhouse or a condo, growing in containers is fantastic. But you can also grow in containers, say, if you just have some space that you can't really put a raised bed or in-ground bed, but you could put a container at, right? You can fill in spaces. Say you already have some raised beds or some in-ground beds, but you want to grow 3 or 4 more tomatoes. You don't want to make a whole bed for it. A container is a perfect option for you. Like, there's so many reasons to grow in containers. If you want to be able to take something inside in the winter time without having to dig it up, if you're growing like, I don't know, like a lemon tree or something like that, whatever, like there's so many reasons that you might be growing in a container. And in this video, I'm not gonna talk too much about the actual container, right? You have like this kind of container, which is like a big, nice container with holes already in it, but it's plastic. You have 5-gallon buckets. You have grow bags. Like, there's a bunch of different ways that you can go, and I would talk about that to you guys soon. But in this video, I wanna talk to you about what's gonna go in the container, because that is one of the most important pieces, right? If you don't have good soil and a good mix in this container, you're not gonna have good fruit. You're not gonna have good veggies coming from the container. You gotta feed your plants, really feed the soil, and the soil will then feed your plants. But how do you do that? How do you make a mix? And so, I'm gonna tell you right after I get one more sip of coffee, guys. I'm addicted. I'm fully addicted. I love coffee. Yeah, I do stop though at 2 p.m. because if I do it later than that, messes up my sleep. Sleep is so important for a healthy lifestyle, and so I don't do that. But let's talk now what we're gonna put in here. So there's a couple of things. Number one, the one thing that you really need to think about, and there's principles to this, right? Like, there's so many different ways that this can work. There's so many different mixes that you can use. If you're in one climate versus another climate, you might need to change the mix a little bit. So I'm gonna try to give you some overall principles, and then you can kind of take and leave whatever that suits your planting style. If you're a heavy waterer, if you sometimes forget to water, like, there's a lot of nuances to this kind of stuff. Just like everything in life, there's a lot of like nuances, like per situation basis on YouTube or on social media. Sometimes I feel like people don't talk about it because people are just, they just don't talk about it on social media. I'm gonna try to talk about it. I'm a real human being. I'm not trying to just, I'm real people. I'm gonna start doing live videos too, so you guys can ask your questions. But there's a lot of different ways to do this, is my point. So, number one, you want to be able to feed your plants, right? And so everything in your container is the only thing that your plants are going to get, right? So if you're growing in ground or even in like a raised bed that's not too high, you're gonna get stuff from the earth, right? You're gonna get, you know, the worms coming up. You're gonna get different minerals. Like, you're gonna get different nutrients from the actual earth, like from the ground itself, right? You're gonna obviously add stuff. You're gonna add compost. You're gonna amend the soil to make it better, but you can start building this, you know, platform essentially, which is your garden bed, to bring things up out of the ground, like your worms, your microbes, you know, all that beneficial fungal networks that are in the soil. But in a container, you don't get that, right? Whatever is in this container is it. So, compost. We're gonna start with some compost because this is gonna be the base of what you're doing. Some good, high quality compost. Try not to get stuff that's too hot. If you can get it that's finished compost, that's the best. Again, I would make another video talking about hot compost versus what a finished compost should look like, but try to get a very high quality compost for this, right? And that really matters because good compost is gonna be my personal favorite base for your container. So we wanna put, I don't know, I like to put honestly at least half, if not more than half of the container filled with good quality compost. The next thing that I will add is some peat moss or cocoa coir, right? Now, some people have problems with peat, with it not being as sustainable. That's a whole discussion because there's good points on honestly both sides of the sustainability with peat moss, and I will go into that in a different video if you guys want me to. Let me know in the comments if you want me to. But I will add some peat moss, and again, this is not like this like perfect mix. Like, it's not like if you 1/2 to 2/3, like just kind of eyeball it, right? So I usually do at least a half in the compost. Then I will scoop in a couple of handfuls of the peat. Now this is gonna retain moisture because when you're growing in a container, it's gonna dry out a lot faster than if you're gonna grow in a raised bed. The wind dries it out, just being in a container really dries it out. So that is for the moisture. It's gonna hold that moisture. And then you can also run into problems where it's too moist, right? We don't want that problem either, because if it gets too soaked and too wet and those plants get wet feet, they will die. They will get root rot. You don't want that either. So you want something that holds the moisture but also drains very easy. And to help that out, we're gonna use some perlite, right? Some perlite. And so, again, just put in, I don't know, a couple handfuls. Again, it also depends, obviously, on how big a container you're using. But, you know, you don't need to put too much of this perlite, but it's going to really help you. And I will kind of show you the mix, right? So if you're just looking at it, that's about the amount of perlite you want. Let me show you. Let me get up from my little seat and really show you. Something about like that. You can put a little bit more perlite if you wanted to, but just kind of eyeball it out. But that's gonna help the drainage, right? That's gonna help the air pockets. So there'll be little pockets in here that won't get too wet. And it will help, oh, something just got in my eye. Oh my goodness. But it will help those roots not get root rot. It will really help with the drainage, right? So we have the nutrients coming from the compost. We have the moisture retention coming from your peat moss or your cocoa coir. And then of course we have the drainage coming from the perlite. Now, I would add more to this mix. So, because like I said, you're not getting anything from the earth. So what I also like to do is add some worm castings. Now I actually have my own worm farm, so I don't want to say it's a farm, but I have my own worms that I can get my own worm castings from. But if you are buying it, if you can buy worm castings locally, I think that's probably the best. Because they're fresh and they're not been in this plastic bag. Because what you want from those worm castings, you want the microbes, the microorganisms, the life in those worm castings. If those worm castings had been sitting in a bag for like 6 months on a shelf somewhere, it's not going to be as good quality as if you can get it local. Now, if you can't get it local, well, then get the bag, right? But if you can find something that's not necessarily a plastic bag, something that's breathable, because there's life, right? And the life will die the longer it sits in a plastic Ziploc baggie on a shelf, right? If it's in the back room or somewhere for 6 months, it's not gonna have as much life. If you really looked at it under a microscope, you could see the life. But put some worm castings in here too. That really helps build an ecosystem in this container. That's what you're doing, guys. You're building an ecosystem in the container. And then I also like something like this. This is a garden tone. I'm not getting paid, obviously. We're not a big enough channel yet. You guys can help us grow by hitting that like button, smashing that subscribe button, or smashing that like button. I don't know if people say smash that subscribe button. I'm saying it. Hit that subscribe, and of course, comment down below. You can help us grow into a much bigger community. The Pineal family is just continuing to grow. The Pineal trade stations are little farm stands that everything's free on. We're now in 15 states, and you can become a host, and I'll put all that info down below too. But I like to use like an Esposma, hopefully I'm saying it right. It's an organic fertilizer. I don't really like the synthetic fertilizers. It's gonna wash away. It's not gonna help build an ecosystem at all. So I like something like this. It's like a garden tone. That's what I use. So I would put like a scoop of this in here as well. And that is a pretty good mix. That is, you're gonna get the drainage, you're gonna get the moisture retention, you're gonna get the nutrients that you need. The only other thing that I would really do is, once I plant this, I would add some mulch. So of course, if you've listened to me for a while, I love leaves. I think leaves are one of the best things that you can use. Obviously, as well, I'm in Kentucky, Louisville, Kentucky, so I am super blessed to have leaves literally all over the place. You can, from my own yard, but you can just literally pick them up from somebody throwing them away or getting rid of them. Like, there's so many leaves to be had, and it is so good for the garden, because they break down and they feed the soil, they build that ecosystem, and so it is really amazing. If you don't have leaves, you can use things like straw or hay. Now, hay sometimes has seeds, but you can use things like, straw is a good one. You can get garden straw. So yeah, just some kind of mulch, right? I don't love, like, the bulk mulch on veggies, but straw, hay, leaves, something like that, put them on top, and that would just help this from drying out, because containers do dry out. But that is about it, guys. That is how, if you want to grow in containers, which there's so many reasons to grow in containers, that is a really practical way that you can start making a mix. Guys, this video went a lot longer than I thought, but I'm glad you guys are here for it. Let me know if you've tried this, if you're going to try this. Let me know what you're growing this year. Let me know how you use nature to get healthy, the building of a Pineal community, and the movement of the Pineal trade stations. Guys, I'm again so happy that you have hung out with me today. Until next time, guys, I love you guys. Peace out.